Good morning, makers. How are you? So thanks for joining us here at a maker studio. My name is Cristie Barron. I have a studio in Northern California where I do lots of teaching with kids and adults. And you can find me on joyfulartstudio.net, here on Facebook and on YouTube and Instagram. So I'd love to visit with you over there as well. But grab your coffee or whatever your favorite morning beverage is, and I have a fun project for you today. So I love to thrift, I love to upcycle, I just love being able to reuse things that I'm done with for one purpose and turn them into another purpose. Who else out there loves a good upcycle? So I have a fun one today, and it's blending two of my favorite things, which is arts and crafts and gardening. So are you ready? Do you want to know what I'm going to do? So they have this great stencil. Give you a good little peek. It is called I'd Rather Be, and it has lots of fun things that many people would love to rather be doing. So it's got crafting, curbside shopping. Who else has done quite a bit of curbside shopping the past couple years? Fishing, if you wanted to make something for your favorite fisher person, and then gardening, which is my other favorite thing. And it's got some fun little embellishments down here, some little flowers, some scissors, paintbrushes, and then a fish. And the detail is so good, you guys. In true Maker Studio fashion, they just knock it out of the park every time. Who else feels the same way? So I'm going to upcycle something that I'm sure many of you have, whether it's from you or from your kids. I have this old pair of denim shorts that was somebody in my family's. I'm not really sure, but we are gonna turn it into a little gardening apron. Is that fun or what? So I've got my shorts that you could either, if you don't have any, you could really use any material. You could use an old apron. You could use just some fabric. Some canvas drop cloth would be a great idea. Maybe you have some shorts, or maybe you thrift and you find some for super cheap, and it doesn't matter the size, and I'm gonna show you why, okay? So I've got my shorts, I've got some gel ink in your favorite colors. I've got my squeegees, and then I've got some scissors. I have a water bath over here, some paper towels, and glasses, because who else is with me? I need glasses for good crafting. So I'm going to turn the camera down so you can get a good look at what's going on my table here and see what I'm doing, and let's get started. Okay, friends, so here we go. I am going to first, I'm gonna get my shorts ready. So I was thinking what I wanna do is you could actually make two aprons out of this, because I'm gonna use half. So the first thing I'm gonna do is some scissors that can cut some fabric, and you can see these are stained, and that's perfect. And I kind of like how these come a little bit lower, and I'll show you why. So at first, I'm just going to come up here and come up the side, right near the seam. And I'm actually going to snip off right close to that. Open it up, and where's my buckle there? I'm gonna come up here on the other inseam and do the same thing. So what is awesome about Maker Studio today is that if you tag 3 friends down below, give us a share, and they are going to give away one of these stencils to you if you win, to one person. So that's super fun. So make sure and tag below and share it with some friends. We don't want anybody to miss out on these awesome projects. So I'm just gonna snip this off. So now I'm gonna lay this flat. And so you can see I have a nice flat piece. And I like how it has these pockets where I can tuck in a couple things when I'm gardening. And what I'm gonna do, and you can do this with a Sharpie or fabric chalk. I'm gonna do it with a Sharpie because it doesn't really matter. If I were to wash it, it's gonna fray. You can see how I'll give you different ideas for embellishing it. So I'm just gonna come around in a U shape. Come down here. I imagine this being on my side, kind of on my hip. That's where I tend to carry things in my pockets. So that will be my design idea, but of course you could even measure it straight if you wanted a straight piece to put in the front. Totally up to you. So I'm going to trim it around where I've got my lines, and hopefully you see those lines there, and you can see I was not very neat about it. So while I'm doing this, tell me down below where you're from, where you're watching from. Tell me, I would love to hear your favorite things to go thrifting for. I really love to thrift and upcycle home decor, whether it's something for, to decorate my walls or my shelves and other spaces, or whether it is even, some furniture. I love to redo furniture as well. Just hate thinking of all that stuff going to the landfill. My kids, so I have 2 girls and a boy. My boy doesn't really care, but my girls, my oldest is fantastic at thrifting clothes, and she tears them apart and resews them. She makes unbelievable stuff. I am not that good about that kind of thing. And my youngest, of course, loves to tag along and find some goodies. So here we go. And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna leave these on here, and you can notice that there's no waist part. There's a couple different things you could do. You could use an old belt and just keep that looped through, and then it's adjustable to whatever size you want, and I'll show you that in some pictures at the end. Or you could put some ribbon and adhere that, and then you could tie it around your waist, which is a great idea. So it would fit many different sizes, and that would be, just a great idea. And if you were using the other side where we cut off the loops here on the end, you could trim it here, and then you could adhere ribbon or a rope. If you could either sew it or even just hot glue it, would be an easy solution to this waistband, and that would help it stay with it and not shift around. So now we're going to get started with our stenciling. I'm gonna use, of course, this gardening and my I'd Rather Be, and then I'm gonna use these little guys down here, little flowers, to do a little design across the bottom. So I'm gonna open up my stencil, and I like to fold these down because I feel like the sticky just makes it hard for me to open it and close it. I'm going to leave the cardstock part in there to help have a sturdy spot. I'm gonna take my scissors, just cut this apart. It's nice that they give us these little lines, whether you cut them apart, it's a good guide, or you can leave the lines and then it's a good guide for when you are inking your project. So I'm gonna just set this aside inside the storage container. And let's see, I think I'm just gonna leave these on here. These are really small, and so I personally feel like it'll help keep them together, and they're far enough apart I can control what I'm doing. So I know this is not quite square, but that's okay. So I believe I'm gonna use this line as my guide across, and you could use a ruler, you could just use this cardboard here to kind of give yourself a guide. I'm going to take off my top part. I'm gonna lay it out and see. Once I lay it out, I might adjust it a bit, because I'm gonna put my I'd rather be. And then let's do the gardening. Saving all my little backings. Just like this. And I am making sure my letters are a bit lined up properly. And I'm gonna go ahead and burnish my parts that I'll be inking. My I'd rather be. And I wanna pick a color that will have some nice contrast so that it'll pop. So I'm going to go with white for my lettering. And the white that they have is the Well I Declare. And this is the Gel Art ink, which is a perfect product for fabric. It's one of my favorite products that Maker Studio has. So I'm going to put some down here. Touch across. I'm gonna come in here and touch some. And I like to suggest that less is more. You can always add more ink, but you can't put it back in that little hole on the tube. So I like to be conservative. And I'm gonna use one of these squeegees that are great. And I prefer this flat side. It has a curved side and a flat side. And I prefer the flat side. It just seems to work more like a card, has more structure, more stiff. But you could definitely, you know, if you can't get one of these, even though I highly suggest them, you could, until they came back in stock, you could use a gift card or a credit card or something that was plastic and stiff. But these squeegees are really great. And they come in a set with this rectangle one, this pen, and then another one that has some good angles on it. So making sure that I'm getting in all of these little spaces and that they're all nice and white. Who out there has a garden? I've got a vegetable garden, and I started some cutting beds this year, in raised beds actually, and I'm loving that. I just threw some seeds in there, a lot of zinnias and sunflowers, and they're looking amazing. My girls keep cutting them and giving them to friends. So I'm going to give this guy a little rinse off in my water bath, because I might want to use it for another color. And I have a paper towel here. I'm just going to dry it off real quick. Then I'm going to take this guy off. Let's see the big reveal. Oh, look at that. That looks so good. I'm gonna just drop this in my little water bath here. I don't want that ink to dry in that mesh spaces, because if it dries in there, it's really difficult to clean out and you might not be able to get it out, which would cause you to ruin the stencil, and that would be tragic, and I don't want that to happen. So there is the beginning of that. Isn't that amazing? So let's think about our other embellishments. I would like to have just a simple border of these guys here, these little florals. So I'm gonna kind of start at this seam, because the seam's gonna make it tricky to have a clear cut. So I'm gonna use it repetitively. what I would like is, I really love a variety of colors in that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put a little bit of green, which the green is called The Grass Is Always Greener, and it's a great green there. And I'm going to use this little guy. So this squeegee has a flatter end and then has a marker end. So I'm just gonna use the flatter end, and I'm not trying to be perfect. I just want to start out with some green and get some of these stems. I like a little bit more of an organic feel for this, and I even got too much there, so that's okay. I'm gonna wipe this part off on my paper towel. I'm gonna scrape this off, and I'll use it again because I'm gonna do a whole border. I'm gonna lift this up, so I'm just gonna set that there for my next spot. And then I think I'll come in with this beautiful Lord Have Mercy, which is a bit of an orange color. And I'm gonna tap that in on a couple of these. And I think yellow would be a great contrast too, which is over yonder. And as you can see, I'm just kind of tapping it on where the flowers will be. I'm gonna wipe off my little tip. If it needs a little extra, just give it a little water, or you could use a baby wipe. That will be another option. I'm just gonna get in there on those little flower buds. Here we go. And so I get asked a lot about heat setting. If it's a project that you are going to be washing a lot, I personally would heat set it just to give you that extra reassurance. But this ink is permanent, so you shouldn't have too much trouble. And that is not popping that as much as I would like, so that's okay. I have a little trick. I like that happy accident happened. So I'm going to kind of wipe this off just a little bit. I'm gonna come over here. You could even reset it on there. It'll be totally fine. And I realize this is not cleaned out yet with water, but I got it out pretty much, and it's gonna be just fine, I think. It's pretty warm in here, so I'm not gonna worry about it too much. So to help it pop a little bit, I'm gonna actually put some white in here, because lots of colors are transparent, but white is a really opaque one. So I'm going to do it in white first. Let's see. Do my white, because I know my white has good contrast. Happy accidents, we work with it, right? So I'm going to get some white in there. And now I'm going to touch it again with some of these colors. The white being added is going to up that opacity to the paint, or the ink, I should say. Here we go. That is probably going to be much better. And then let's get some green from this side. Going up. Let's see how that did. Much better, check it out. So see what happened? It worked so much better. So now we know if it's kind of a dark surface and your color is not transferring the way you want it, put some white down and then add your color. Okay. Here's our white. Still have some green on here, I'll reuse that. And you can even, instead of putting your ink on your stencil, you could just, ooh, that really came out, put it on your squeegee directly. I probably won't heat set this one. I can't imagine that I'm going to be washing a garden apron that much, because I'll keep it hanging on my tool spot where I keep all my gardening goodies, which I will give you a peek at in some photos later. Here we go. Oh, nice. I love it. Okay, I'm gonna do one more over here, and then we're gonna finish this beauty up. Let's go with the white, the Well I Declare. So don't forget to tag tag 3 friends and give us some shares. That way you can get in a drawing to win this great stencil. There's so many different projects. You can make a little sign for your art and craft area. You could make something for a man cave with the fishing ones. Or maybe a little boy's room that loves to fish. I had a lot of this ink left on here, so that is why I did not add any more. You could even use it in a sewing room with those really great scissors there. I would even make an art apron. I don't know about you, but I am notorious for using my aprons as a towel. I'm constantly, like, all my aprons across my belly have paint in them because I use it as a napkin. Okay, so I've got that. I'm gonna go ahead and tuck this in there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to let this dry, and if you wanted, you could heat set it with an iron. I would put a thin tea towel between this and your iron and iron it for a couple minutes, moving it constantly, and then you're ready. And so we could add some ribbon here, which I think I'll do that right now. So I'm gonna add actually some cotton cording to make a cute little belt here. And this is just some 6mm from a craft store for your macrame projects. But I don't do many macrame projects, but I do love this natural colored cording. And so to measure it, I would just put it around my own waist and give yourself some free space. And then you could, this is cotton, so you can't really burn it, but you could put some glue in here and twist at the end to keep it from fraying. So I'm just gonna tuck this in here. And there's my belt that will be not thick and heavy on my little apron. And there we go. Okay, friends, thank you so much. So here we are with our cute little apron, and you could put it on your hip, and here we go. Give yourself a little tie. Easy to take on and off. You could tack the ribbon on the little belt loops, that way it doesn't get lost. Easy, with a little bow, and I'll show you some pictures later, but super cute. So make sure you let me know what you would upcycle or what you would do with this stencil. Tag your friends, and thank you so much for joining me at Maker Studio this morning for coffee and crafting. Have an amazing day.